jokes aside, running technique and these techniques we're showing you, they happen all the time. This is why we coach out of people, and this is why we get them stronger. So I'm going to talk you through each one and why they happen, and obviously the ways that you can get around of it so you don't look like that or perform like that. So the first one is what we call the hip dropper. If you can see on the video, their hips tend to drop and rotate a lot. So again, it's usually common in people who have ITB injuries, knee injuries, and it just means, again, a lot of the energy will leak out of your legs. It's a simple way of putting it, but it means that you can't use your strength to stabilize your hip joints very well, which means that your knee joints become more unstable, and you have to use more strength and more energy on each ground contact to try and move at a given speed. A splayer runner, super common. I'd say it's slightly more common in females than males because of the slightly wider hips, but again, it's through to a lack of hip strength. The lack of hip strength means on each ground contact that we get this internal inwards movement at the hip and the knee, which then causes the rear foot to splay on out to the side, and it particularly occurs the more fatigue that we tend to get as well. The next one is the John Cleese. This is the person who heel strikes, and as well as heel striking, will also hyperextend their spine. They'll lean back too much, and you can really see it as being visible as it stands out so much. And again, this happens because if you haven't got hip strength, you'll adopt that position because you don't need that much hip strength. So it's a really good way to be able to get around where you don't have strength in the first place. It's also someone who usually lacks a lot of abdominal and core strength as well. Again, this is like the John Cleese technique. For the same reason, people who aren't strong in the hips will adopt this position because they can use the muscles in the front of the legs, their quadriceps, a lot more. It's also one that we can see in people usually before having Achilles injuries because it usually loads the Achilles a lot, and it's definitely visible in people who are trying to overly consciously do this because they've been told by a coach, for example, to strike more on the front of the foot, but they're just doing it way too much. Okay, the PC plodder. This one you can hear. They're heavy ground contacts and the foot is on the ground for a very long time. Now, this is typical of people who just have poor levels of general strength through the hips and the legs, because when their foot strikes the floor, they have no strength particularly much to reactively use. So their leg takes longer to go from a bending position to an extended position, and it just creates this very heavy audible contact. So how can we avoid all these things? Well, there's one very clear, simple message and problem that all of these people have, and that is they lack hip strength fundamentally and also leg strength. And because they lack that, it means that their body will go into these undesirable positions because they haven't got the ability to create force to stop their body going into those positions. Also as well, abdominal strength will probably play a role in it as a secondary thing. So there's no point trying to tune technique when the limiting factor is your strength and your ability to create force. As we say, it's like trying to turbocharge a little 1 litre engine. However, that doesn't mean that we need to tune and work on technique alongside our strength stuff, because we do. So by improving your hip strength, by improving your leg strength and abdominal strength, and then using, like many of the drills we've shown, to transfer that strength into your running, is the way to make sure you can get out of these problems, run faster, run more efficient, have less injuries.